Okay, Rabbi Isai, Simon Tov Peites, see you Zayin in the middle of Hilchas Sfiras Ha'omer. Shochach v'lo berech kol halaylo. Person forgot and didn't say the Sfira the whole night. It says Birach, it means he didn't count. Yispar Bayayim, you can still catch during the day, say count during the day, below bracha, without saying the bracha. This is a very frequent question. The person didn't count the Omer during the night. The thing is, he lost his bracha, but he can still continue to count during the day. Says the Mishnah Brura, Tzivkot Lamed Gimel, Yispar Bayayim, Kadas Harbe Paiskim, like many Paiskim, to B'diavad, Sfiras Yoim, Oyleloi, Sfira. B'diavad can include count during the day, is also a valid count. Lay bracha, but not with a bracha. The Yesh Lachosh, because on the other hand, there are opinions that Das HaPaiskim to Ein Zman Sfira El Balayla. There are opinions that hold Sfira has to be done at night. Tamimos means to count when it's the complete day ahead of you. Tamimos to be complete count. So ideally one counts at night. If one didn't count in the night, one can still count during the day. According to the opinions that hold you have to count at night to count during the day is the Vatala. Therefore one doesn't count during the day, but with a bracha, but one does count. Again, if one didn't count at night with a bracha, one counts during the day without the bracha. You will be counted on subsequent days. Every night you continue to count with a bracha. Although somebody who misses out a complete 24-hour period does not continue reciting with a bracha, as we'll see later, but somebody who managed to catch up and count during the day, he counts without a bracha and continues to recite with a bracha. And the reason for this is, as Shatzian explains, that there is really here two pieces of logic to permit the continual counting with a bracha. First of all, it could be you can count during the day. And even if you can't count during the day, it could be every day of the Omer is an independent mitzvah, and therefore there's no reason why one can't count on every day independently with a bracha. So although individually on each question we are machmir, but collectively if a person missed a night, count during the day, he can continue to count the bracha because of these two svaras. Could be each day is independent. If each day is an independent mitzvah, so therefore it makes a difference what happened on the previous day, continue counting with the bracha. And even if what is one big mitzvah, but could be allowed to count during the day. So therefore, you can continue to count subsequent days with a bracha. Sivches. If a person forgot to make a bracha, meaning he forgot to count, on one of the days of the Omer, the first day, any of the days, he's lost the connection, he's lost the chain of the Omer, and he can only continue to count on the other days. He should continue to count, but without a bracha. If however he's unsure, didn't I count yesterday? He's not lost that chain, that thread. He can continue to count on subsequent days with a bracha. Let's take a look at this and see if we can understand what it means. Again, so the person, you forgot completely to count one day, so you can no longer count with a bracha. He didn't count. Missed one complete day, not 24 hours period, missed out. He realizes, 1 second, I've lost sync. I must have said the wrong number last night. That's considered not counting. And the din is that the chain has been lost, been broken, and you can no longer count with the bracha. Nevertheless, Seif B'Shiyam should continue to count. Why? Because there are many places they hold each day is independent. Again, there's a machlokes. Is Tfiras HaOmer one big mitzvah with 49 parts, or is it 49 small mitzvahs? So this fellow missed out one complete day. So there there are opinions that say 1 second, every day is in the mitzvah independent, and therefore can continue to count with the bracha. On the other hand, there are other opinions that say 1 second, it's one big mitzvah, and you've lost the chain, and therefore you can't continue counting. So what we say is, well, you can continue counting, but there's no harm done in counting again. Even the opinion says there's no mitzvah to count. You've lost the chain. You can still count. There's nothing wrong with counting. Don't recite the bracha because the opinions that hold it's one big mitzvah and you've lost the chain. So you do count, but without a bracha. So the opinion holds this one big mitzvah. You've lost this chain. because you missed out one day. The best thing would be what you should do is hear the brachas recited by the chazan, or somebody else reciting the bracha. Answer amen. You have in mind to fulfill the mitzvah. And then count. This way, you're the best of both worlds. You haven't actively said a bracha because it could be a bracha of Atala, which one mustn't say. On the other hand, you fulfilled the mitzvah with a bracha because you've used somebody else's bracha. His bracha is valid for you as well. Yeah, so what is the point of continuing to count? It says tamimos. So the Bialoch here brings 3 suggestions how we could understand the tamimos, if a person had missed out the day completely. First of all, the Bialoch suggests it could be that provided he counts every end of every week, which is sort of a complete week, that would be considered a fulfillment of tamimos. Others suggest, another suggestion is that if a person misses a day out, he should actually count, he should say, yesterday's Omer was so-and-so, and today's Omer is this, and that's also a fulfillment of tamimos. And a third suggestion is that when it says tamimos, it doesn't mean you have to count every single day. It means you have to count at the beginning of each night. Beginning of each night. Tamimos means beginning of each night, and that you will have fulfilled. So Al Kaponim, the Nakuda was saying over here is if a person didn't count one entire day, so either what you should do is you should continue to count, because maybe each day is independent of the other, but don't count with a bracha because maybe it's one big mitzvah. And ideally, if you hear the bracha from somebody else, that would be best. The Shulchan Aruch Mishnah Berurah continues to count on Ches. If, however, he's unsure if he counted, he can continue to count. He's not lost that thread. Why? It says in Mishnah Berurah, Dikas fake. We have here doubled out. Shemale did it count. Could be he counted every day. And even if you're going to say this fellow did miss a day out, no, Shem halacha goes in place. Maybe the halacha is like those who hold every day is independent mitzvah, and therefore he can continue to count even with a bracha. If a person has any other type of doubt, if you fulfilled the mitzvah of counting, and he didn't count afters on the same night, nevertheless, he can continue to count with a bracha another night. Therefore, for example, in Tava Yomim, if a person definitely counted the right weeks, but he wasn't sure if he counted, but he made a mistake, he didn't count the right days. By Tava Yomim, or he said the days right, but he didn't get the weeks right. The din bracha, and the din is in any of these cases that if it's considered a partial counting, you won't be able to count again, but with a bracha, but he would be able to count. He should count again. So therefore, it's considered a valid count. At least, but the Yaved Charabasim Kotten Zayin in Loichosav Asip, if he didn't count again, nevertheless, he hasn't lost the thread because he fulfilled his mitzvah by counting the days without the weeks, or the weeks without the days, and the next night he can continue to carry on counting with a bracha. Again, it's all a fake. First of all, perhaps he did count every day. And even if you didn't count every day, perhaps you don't need to count every day. Perhaps it's one if every day is independent. You can continue to count with a bracha. Mishnah Berurah here, who says if a person makes a mistake in the days, but he counted the weeks properly, or he counted the weeks properly, didn't count the days properly, one has to check up how it fits in exactly with the earlier Sivkot and Zion and Sivkot and Tes and Sivkot and Chof Beis. It's apparent from these Mishnah Berurahs earlier and here as well that what is essential is to mention the days. To mention the weeks might not be so essential, but to mention the days is essential. So that which the Mishnah Berurah says, if a person made a mistake and said the weeks correctly, not the days, that's more difficult to say that he would be able to continue to count with a bracha. Although the Bialocha suggests it's talking about a case where it wasn't the end of a week. It was let's say it wasn't day 7, 14, or 21, but rather it was day 8, 9, 10, 11, etc., or 15, 16, 17, not the end of a week. In which case, if one counts the weeks, one is also counting the days. For example, one is counting the weeks. One says, let's say it was day 8, and the person says today is 1 week and 1 day. He has sort of mentioned days as well, and therefore would be able to continue to count with a bracha. If let's say it would be day 7 or day 14 or day 21, we just have counted the weeks and didn't later on make up and do the correct counting, you wouldn't be able to continue to count with a bracha. Okay, So again, so let's just summarize what we said. If a person forgot, didn't count the entire night, then as he counts the next day during the day, and you can continue through the subsequent days to count with a bracha. If a person has got a question if he did or didn't count 1 24-hour period, he can continue to carry out subsequent days with a bracha. The person missed out a complete day or said the wrong day, a complete day, whole 24-hour period, then he's lost his bracha, but he should continue to count because there are opinions that hold every day of the Omer is independent mitzvah. There's one little interesting point over here. The Mishnah Brura has told us that we can continue to carry saying the Omer with the bracha on subsequent days if one has a sveika. That means one has two reasons to make a bracha, to continue to count. For example, let's say a person's unsure, did I count yesterday or not? Then the din is he can continue to count on subsequent days with the bracha. But why? Because it's faker. You have two reasons to permit him to count. First of all, perhaps he did count the day before. And additionally, perhaps each day is an independent mitzvah sphere. The question is that with regards to beria and hilchos brachos, we have a similar scenario. A person eats a whole item, for example, a grape. He eats a grape whole, puts it into his mouth and it's whole. Now we really have two svaras here to make bracha achrona. A, it could be a complete item needs a bracha achrona, and it could be B, that a grape, or let's say something slightly larger, it could be that is the shear of a kazayas needs a bracha achrona. Nevertheless, with regards to burial, we don't say, well, we have two svaras to mechayev a bracha, therefore it's like only 1/4, it's like 3/4 chance-wise. It's correct to make a bracha. We don't say that. We say a person who's sofek brachas lachos shouldn't make a bracha. So why over here when we have two svaras, yes, to count you count with a bracha, and there we've got two svaras not to make a bracha, and we say you don't make a bracha, sofek brachas lahaka. Sofek brachas lahaka. Again, a burial which is a sofek shear, we wouldn't make a bracha achrona, although there's really two svaras to say she needs a bracha achrona. So there's various terutzim to this answer, this question. One teretz which is given is, as far as Chaim Pinchas talks about this question, I think there's a addition note as well. One way to answer this question is that over there, the question is the bracha itself. When we have a sveika, whether it's just in this whole sveika is in the bracha, we say sofek brachas lahaka. We've got a rule by brachas, unless we are for sure you need to make a bracha. One doesn't make a bracha, sofek brachas lahaka. Here, however, the doubt isn't in the bracha. The doubt is in the mitzvah. The double doubt is in the mitzvah. We've got two reasons to assume the mitzvah is valid, and then once the mitzvah is valid, then the bracha comes along with it, and one can do the mitzvah even with a bracha. That's one suggestion. Another suggestion is that true, sveika, one doesn't make a bracha, like we find in the case of burial. But here, it's not really a sveika. Really, here, there's a mimonoshuch. That means, in fact, it's not just a double, two independent reasons why a person could make a bracha here, could be obligated to count here. A, maybe each day of the Omer is independent, and B, maybe, for example, maybe he was yoitz already if he counted during the day, not during the night. There's an additional thought, and that is that it's really a mimonoshuch. That means the pasuk says tamimos. You have to be perfect. Now, what does tamimos mean? So some learn that tamimos means you have to count at the beginning of the night. You have to count at the beginning of the night. And others learn tamimos means it's one big mitzvah. It's one big mitzvah. But nobody learns both the two together. So that means mimonoshuch. Whatever happens, you can continue being obligated to recite with a bracha. Because if you say tamimos means you have to count at the beginning of the night, well, that means you hold each day is an independent mitzvah, so you can continue counting with a bracha on subsequent days. And if you hold tamimos means it's one big mitzvah, yeah, but that means you hold that you can count any time during the day. And therefore, if a person counted during the day and think you count during the night, he'll be able to continue to count with a bracha. Yeah. That wouldn't explain the case where he has a sofek counting. That wouldn't explain, the second reason wouldn't explain that, but would explain the case when a person counted during the day, not during the night. I can continue to count with a bracha. Hope that's clear, Rabbi Zai. Siv test. Leil Shabbos v'leil Yom Tov. If it's Friday night and it's the night of Yom Tov, Mevarchin, who makes a bracha on the Sfira, V'soifnim on counts, Achar Kiddush B'beis HaKnesses, after Kiddush in Shul. Now we only make Kiddush in Shul on the last nights of Pesach, So this wouldn't be relevant on the first night of Sfira, i.e. the second night of Pesach. Of Motzei Shabbos v'Yontif, and when it's Motzei Shabbos Yontif, Kodim Havdalah, we make Kiddush before Havdalah. Achar Kaddish Tiskabel, after reciting the Kaddish Tiskabel. Interesting. On Friday night, we make the bracha, make the Sfira and the bracha after Kiddush. And on Motzei Shabbos, we make it before Havdalah. We'll have to see why. Shechol Yontif Achron Shel Pesach Motzei Shabbos. If the last day of Pesach falls on Motzei Shabbos, does Omer Kiddush v'Havdalah Pamachas, one says Kiddush and Havdalah together. One should count Kodim before make the Kiddush Havdalah, stroke Havdalah on the cut, basic Knesset in Shul. Mainly Yain, and if the person hasn't got wine, so after Kaddish Yakin has, he has to make a Kiddush, a special Kiddush of Yain, Kiddush Ner Havdalah, and Zaman. Right. So the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Cotton, Lamates. Acha Kiddush Beis Knesset. So after Kiddush on Friday night, one counts the Sefirah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Cotton, Lamates. Why? Why after Kiddush? Kol Mashanuchal Haktim Kedushas Hayom. You shall not Haktim. We'd rather recite Kiddush first to bring the Kedushas Hayom in first. Kedush Shabbos. Yontovim Sofer basically Yisbokizim Kiddush. If he's counting it at home, then he should count before Kiddush. Also Lecho Koidem Hasfira, because he won't be able to Kiddush needs a Suda. There's a rule, Kiddush Makom Suda. And you can't begin your Suda before Sfira. So you're gonna have to say Sfira before Kiddush. Koidem Havdalah. On the other hand, when it's Motzei Shabbos, then he would recite Sfira before Havdalah, Mem, to the other extreme, the Fukiyum Machrin Le, would rather delay the Shabbos going out. Achat Kaddish Tiskabel, after Tiskabel Kaddish before Havdalah, Sivkot Memalach, Rotzei Mamash, Achar, Vinoim, after Kaddish, and Kaddish Tiskabel, which is recited after Vinoim and after Kaddish, also going out, which is the end of the Tzilah. Kaddish Kama in a game, in a Kaddish Harim, the Kaddish, short Kaddish after Shemanesah before Vinoim, not relevant, it's not complete Kaddish. Yitnecha is recited after the Sfira. When the last days of Pesach fall on Motzei Shabbos, then one says Kiddush and Havdalah together, and one does Sfira before the cup of Kiddush. Now, what does it mean Yom Tov Achron? Yom Tov Achron implies the very last day, which is the 8th. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the 7th day of Pesach can't fall on a Sunday because we've got a rule like Badu Pesach, and if Sunday would be the 7th day of Pesach, that means first day Pesach was on a base of Badu, base Dalad Vav, with the 3 days Pesach, first day Pesach can't fall on a Monday, and therefore 7th day Pesach can't be a Motzei Shabbos. So the only day that can be Motzei Shabbos is the 8th day of Pesach. Well, Sheni Shal Pesach, Pesach Knesset says wouldn't be relevant the 2nd of Pesach, though already counting the Omer, because on the second night one doesn't say Kiddush. Whereas because of Simon Tov Bezayin, as we saw Simon Tov Bezayin, because it's Lel Shimurim, and because everyone has Kiddush, everyone has no only be Yisrael who hasn't got wine. Sikot Mem Gimel. So when should one say Kiddush again? When should we say Omer? On the one hand you've got Kiddush, on the other hand you've got Havdalah. We said before with regard to we'd rather say Kiddush before Omer and Havdalah after Omer to make sure Shabbos as long as possible, Kiddush as long as possible. So why do we say here when it's Motzei Shabbos? Coming into the 8th day of Pesach, we say we should count the Omer before one says this Kiddush stroke Havdalah. So God Mem Gimel. As we said that we'd rather delay the Kiddush Havdalah. Although with Kiddush we'll bring in the Yom Tov of the 8th day, so perhaps Kiddush should be done first to bring it in earlier. Since we're leaving Shabbos, we'd rather delay the leaving of Kiddush Shabbos, even if it means also delaying the bringing in of the Yom Tov. Says the Mishnah Berurah, not only if it's the Motzei Yom Tov if Motzei Shabbos is the 8th day of Pesach, even during the week, now a normal week, one should have Sfira and then Kiddush. Sorry, he means, yeah, says the Taz, interesting, says the Taz, we were discussing when the 8th day is a Sunday, and therefore going from Shabbos into the 8th day. And then the Shulchan Aruch has said that one should count Sfira to keep the Shabbos day as long as possible. Says the Mishnah Brura, in fact, even if it would be a standard 7th, 8th day scenario, and one is back to make Kiddush for the 8th day, isn't it not better, says the Taz, to say Sfira and then say Kiddush, because the Kedusha of the first day is more than the Kedusha of the second day. So assuming that, because we know the which day really is Yom Tov, and therefore perhaps even if it will be from a standard 7th, 8th day will be together, not on a Shabbos Sunday scenario. One should also first count the Sfira to elongate the first day of Yom Tov. So the Mem Gimel again with the Taz holds Shabbos. Not only if the 8th day of Pesach falls on Motzei Shabbos, to Adin similarly, I feel b'chol. Yeah, even if it's a standard 7th, 8th day, both of a weekday, one should keep the 7th day going as long as possible and say Sfira before Kiddush to Tzvei Odif, the Achim Kedushas Shvi'it Shemin HaTorah, the Kabbalah Kedushas Yom Tov Achim She'ein Midrabanan, to keep the first day of Yom Tov longer than the second day, so therefore do Sfira before Kiddush. The Achronim disagree. Shnatzion brings, we wouldn't want to be Mazal the second day Yom Tov by trying to delay bring the Kiddush, put it after Sfira, which would not be like a normal, which would not be like the other situation where we said you should do Kiddush first to bring it in earlier. So therefore, we'd rather keep it that only if it's Motzei Shabbos going into the 8th day, then and only then we would say, you know what, let's keep Shabbos going and recite the Sfira, and only then Kiddush. Thank you, Rabbi Isai.